Now, as we go into the demonstration, one of the nice things with Camino is we are a hosted solution. So one of the neat things is for your IT people is all they need is a button to take you to Camino, right? To start, whether it's in the example of Santa Clarita for a permit guide or for others with a permit system. For when a applicant it does click on that button and come, they'll land on a landing page similar to this. This is a demo site, but allows you to see, the various options that we have. Special events, open, business licensing, planning, commercial and residential. This page is also configured by you. So if we have some cities that just have residential building projects. And so if they were to come in, click on something like a residential project, it would take them to, again, a configurable page on how you want to break down your work. And the ultimate goal is that they can easily find what they're looking for. Camino even has a Google-like search bar up here. So as an example, if I'm looking to put in a pool, I can just type in pool, and Camino will give me the option of a pool house or a pool and a hot tub, and I can go from there. But in this example, we're going to go to a new accessory structure. And again, you see it's drilling down on what type of accessory structure, and this is configurable as well. But in this example, we're just going to go with this guest house. So now Camino is asking for an address. And in this example, we're going to go with this address. And for you, it would be in and around the county, and you would see drop-down options there. But in selecting this address, and we can also select by parcels as well, you can search. Camino brings up a address and allows you to confirm the location, so to speak. So in confirming my location, Camino has already begun to customize this application because we know that we have all those GIS layers that we're working from, and we know zoning and various things like that. So now we go into some simple questions. The ultimate goal is we want a resident without any construction background to be able to answer these questions. And and these are more than likely the same questions that your permit techs are asking. Is the structure going to be larger than 120 square feet? Will the wall height exceed 10 feet? You can see we also have an I'm not sure how to answer it button, so they can click in and you can give them additional information, right? The ultimate goal is we don't want them to have to call you. They can be able to get their own answers. You can have links and attachments here so they can come back and answer. Will the structure include heating and plumbing? Is it visible from the front of our house? Will the construction impact existing sidewalks? Important to note, those questions are configurable by you as well. So if yours are different, you don't have to follow those at all. And now in submitting our answers, the final thing Camino is doing is looking to generate the fees, right? And in this example, it's based on a simple project valuation. If you had more complex fee structures, we can ask the necessary questions and do the necessary calculations to get the accurate fees. But in this example, we're just going to submit our answers. And we have our guide, right? So initially, this guide can be used for informational purposes only. They now know the fees they're going to expect if they do apply for the permit, and they know the other informations of the application, even a breakdown of the fees here. But if we want, we can come in to the guide itself and review it, right? Now, let's say we're couple weeks, a couple months away from applying, but we can take a look at this and see, survey requirements with a link to a surveyor list, foundation embrace information and attachment, so that they can open up. And one of the things with Camino is, and I saw on your website, there were tens, if not hundreds of documents and attachments that you shared. Now, instead of all that, we're just sharing the attachments and the applications that apply directly to their project. And now in this example as well, we're having them review fire hazard zone requirements, but the reason is because they are in a fire zone, right? We're not just sharing fire hazard zone information to everyone, it's only to the people that are in a fire zone. In this example, if they weren't in a fire zone, this would not be part of their guide, right? And they can click on a link to additional construction requirements for that. We also, because we know the zoning that this project is in, we can generate the setbacks for them, right? So they don't have to call you for that. And we have additional links if they need that. Now, when we talk about the application, we can collect data with what we call a form builder, where you can configure, the form that you want to collect, or we can also bring in PDF documents and digitize it and collect it that way as well. Initially, if they're just looking at this for informational purposes, they can see the information that you require. Maybe they don't have all of it, so they go back and gather that information up so they have it when they're ready to apply. But in this example, let's fast forward to the day they are ready to apply. They log back into Camino, their guide is already there for them, and they can start applying. One of the neat things for Camino is it's an intelligent application. So we only are showing them forms, documents, and fees that they'll need, right? There isn't confusion. We're not sharing a bunch of stuff. We're not having them decide what forms they're going to give you. We're doing it, but we're also identifying mandatory fields, right, with this asterisk. And Camino, as you can see up top here, is keeping track of the mandatory fields that are filled out. So as I come through here and I'm filling out additional fields, you can see up here at the top, it's growing, so to speak, in this example. And the owner's name and the address, 123 Main. And once I have all the mandatory fields completed and I save my answer, I get a little checkbox, right? So that part's done. You can also see here, for contractors, we can set up Camino so that for maybe fields that they're always having to fill out, we can collect it once with their login. And now every time they apply, Camino is automatically filling out those fields for them, right? And there could be a lot more than that. As we go into more, we have a digitized one, and here we're identifying the mandatory fields again. We come in and fill it out. We sign this document, and we have a date on it, right? And those are the 3 fields we needed, and we get our checkbox. Now we go into the documents, right? We have, you can give examples of the format that you want it in. And in this example, they can just simply drag and drop this information in. Engineering plans here, again, simple drag and drop. And even on the setback verification form, we're showing how you can even include an attachment of the format that you want it in. And then they simply drag and drop that in. And in this example, we're done. Now we have all the mandatory fields completed, and Camino knows that and says, do you want to, we got everything we need. Do you want to submit? And they can submit, right? So now we have all those fields done. One piece that we didn't have as part of the submittal, but we could have, are the fees, right? And so again, informationally, they can see what the various fees are here. And if they want, they can pay these fees online. So we use Stripe, which is one of the largest electronic data processing companies out there, used by companies like Amazon. And they collect a 3% fee. That's where this $52.57 comes from. So in this example, the county would get the $17.50, Stripe would directly get the 52, and Camino does not collect any of this credit card information. So that's not stored within our system. So that's the front end, right? And one of the other nice things about the system itself is if a customer comes in and wants some information, you can generate this guide for them. And we can also print this off as a PDF document that you could email them. And so they can have all this same information emailed to them so they can have it handy as well, all the way down to those fees that we talked about before. So that's the front end side of things. The other piece that I forgot to share here, but we'll do now, is on the bottom of every one of these steps, you see this chat box down here. And the idea is, if I'm an applicant and I'm going through this and I see the setbacks here as an example, and I come in and say, I have a question, all right? And I ask my question, I can post my message here, and Camino has the intelligence to know who to send this question to. So in this example, it's going to planning and zoning, right? About setbacks. We can send this to an individual or a group in the planning and zoning department, and they will receive the question as an email, and they can reply to the question in their email, whether it's on their phone or on their laptop, and they can even start a conversation back and forth with the applicant. The nice thing about this conversation is we're going to store this conversation in Camino. And so it can be really helpful down the road if we get into a little bit of a he said, she said situation. You know, I was told by planning and zoning that I could build closer to my, you know, the property line. Well, you can look back at that conversation and see that's not what was said. The planning and zoning said it had to be 20 feet away, as an example. So, so helpful there as well.
Wait, so we can actually be able to so not just in the email, but we can actually have these conversations and with the set standards in here, everything to basically to document our conversations with the applicant.
Exactly. So now it's not going to be lost in your email where, you know, did we have a conversation with Mary? I don't know
Is
who
that,
had
is
the
that correct, Mr. Marshall?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chris? Did I lose you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. I
Sorry.
literally I had my volume all the way down by accident. I'm sorry. I missed everything you just said, sir.
Not a problem. And so with this, you're right. You're absolutely correct in the sense that now you have that conversation and that fear of who did you have the conversation with? I don't know, but someone told me, and you're hunting down people's email boxes. And did anyone have this conversation? Now it's going to be stored with the application on the back end. And so, and I'll show you in a second how you can access that conversation. You can also access, you know, everything on their application, all the way down to how they answered their question, right? So if, you know, as an example, someone said, hey, no one told me I needed to get a tree permit for putting, you know, for my addition. Well, when we asked you if you had any trees that might be affected by the construction, you said no. You know, so why would you have a tree permit? You know, why would there be a need tree permit if you didn't have any trees nearby? But you did, you know, so you kind of, I don't know if the words lie, but you misunderstood the question or whatever the situation was. But so, but right. And so, and the other nice thing you can see here as well is for each of these, you know, if I had a question here on the fire hazard zone requirements, that question's going to the fire department. So you're not going to have a lot of, let me forward you this to the right department, which is frustrating for the applicant, but also frustrating for you guys too, in that way. So, so that's the front end. And now as we go into the back end of the system, let me refresh the page so we'll get my app, what I just applied in. So now we have all of our submissions here. And let's say as an example, I call in and say, hey, this is David Marshall. I live at 1744 Cowper and I have a question on my application. Well, you could very easily search for me by my name, or in this example, I can search by the address, and Camino will show me all the applications that came in under that address. And in this example, I'll just select the one we just did here. So with this application now, you have the ability to see all the information that you shared, so when we talked about fire hazard zone requirements, you can click in here and see the same information that we shared with them. And as well as the application itself and everything that they shared there. So in this example, let's say as an example, I showed up at the office and said I wanted to pay my fees in person with a check. And so you could access my application, click on the fees that aren't paid yet, mark it as paid, and then in this example we'll say paid with check 1, 2, 3. So now in submitting this, we'll also be passing a receipt to the individual, electronic receipt that they'll have that was paid for, and you could see we could also issue refunds. So that's been updated. The other neat thing about Camino is as their system is, or as their application is being updated, they're automatically getting notifications of the updated status. So in the example of paying, you can see right now, because I haven't refreshed it, but if I refresh it, what's going to happen for the applicant is they're going to receive an email letting them know with the receipt and it's been paid, but also there'll be a button on the email that they can click into their application and see that update that their fees are paid. But now as we go into and review this application, right? So we have all the documents, all the fields that have been gathered up through this piece. Let's say as an example, we reviewed the engineering plans. You can see how we can come right over here and download them. Let's say it was the wrong engineering plans, right? Something was wrong with them. We give you the ability up here to request changes, right? So in coming up here, I can say, hey, I want to request changes, and it's on the engineering plans, and you can write what's up. I'm just going to do something quick here, but so you can give detail what you needed or what you needed updated. And another thing you're going to do is you're going to notify the applicant up here. And we said yes to that. We can even include a note. And in requesting these changes, you can see it changes the status of the permit. But for the applicant, they're going to again receive an email, and they can click right back into Camino. And Camino is going to update the status that changes are requested. And we got our little note about engineering plans being wrong. Here's what was being requested. You can see our note there, and they can make their changes and update the engineering plans, right? So, and now they can be done making changes and submit them. So kind of keeping that communication between the county and the applicant. So if I refresh this page now, I have the applicant resubmitted. They made those changes. I can review the documents that were resubmitted. And here's my documents. And now let's say, as an example, I have a complete submittal, right? It's been paid, everything else. With Camino, we also share an active map of your of the applicant, as well as here you would receive GIS information on the location. I have City of Santa Clarita's site, which has their GIS zoning information already loaded in. So you can see how, this might be helpful as you're going through, to have this information right as part of the submittal. And it might be helpful if they have questions for you. But now the real power of Camino comes in. I don't know what this magnet thing does for you, but with Camino, we have a workflow system here. And with it, you can generate a whole bunch of different workflows, right? Whether it's workflows for your special events, workflows for business licensing, whatever it is. In this example, we'll be looking at these workflows. This workflow process is very easy for the county to customize. As you can see, we can add additional statuses. You can control the direction and where this is all flowing from. You can see in this example, we're going to be work flowing from submitted to either plan review or planning commission. And for each step, you have the option of closing it out, right? But the neat thing with this as well is if I click on a certain status, in this example, plan review, and come over here to more options, you'll see that each status step has steps involved with it. In this example, it's a building review, plan review, and a fire review, right? And we can auto associate now to specific departments, where this is going to automatically workflow to the building department, and this one's going to go to planning and zoning and the fire. You can also automatically workflow it to an individual, and you can determine whether it's a required step or not. It has to be done, and the ability easily to add additional steps or remove them. One of the things that you'll see in all of Camino is there's no coding involved. It's very easy for you to modify your own processes yourself, right? So now, in coming back to the submission here that we were just working off of, the other piece that I wanted to share with you before I forget is, on the side here, you can see you have all the information on the individual, their address. You can also see other submissions at this location, but we also have this activity feed, right? And this is where you can see actually where things are happening. So, where here you requested changes, they came back and at a certain time and date submitted their changes back. And here is that question that we had, and potentially a conversation that happened there, right? So everything on this activity of this application is, you're going to have that feed there. So again, you have an applicant that comes back and says, hey, I applied for a permit a month ago. Why is it taking a month? What did you guys do? Well, you could look back at the activity feed and realize we requested changes from you, and it took you 3 weeks to get back to us with the changes, right? So it's not on you, it's on them. And so you have that backup to be able to fall back on, locked and loaded right there within the system as well. But now let's go into that workflow. Like we said before, we reviewed this, and we want to workflow this through the process. And in this example, we're going to transition it to, as we talked about, we have the option of plan review, planning commission, or closing it out. And in this example, we're going to go to the planning review, and we're also going to notify the applicant of these changes. So in updating our status, the status changed to plan review, but also we now have these 3 additional reviews that need to be done, right? The applicant sees these updates and sees these reviews that needs to be done. And in this example, these were auto workflowed to these departments. So in this example, let's say I'm in the building department. This was assigned to us, but I'm going to now assign it to someone from the building department. In this example, I'm going to assign it to me, right? And I'm going to give this guy Dave Marshall about a week to do the review. And in doing that, Dave Marshall, the reviewer, will get an email notification, and I can log into Camino, and I have all my tasks that are assigned to me right here, right? So I can come in and look at everything I need to do. And in this example, this was the task that was assigned to me to do just now. So I can click on it here. And we also have the ability to link our system to a electronic plan review system. In this example, we have ePlansoft. It could also be Bluebeam if you have that. But we can set up an integration so we can pass these documents, in essence, work through them in ePlansoft and have them come back updated in Camino. Also, if you don't have an electronic plan review system, you can also do it without it, right? You could use, some cities just download, print off the document, redline it with a red pen or pencil, and simply scan them back in. Others use free pieces like Adobe to redline, however it works best for you. So in this example, I'm going to add documents for review. So we'll look at these documents that we had here, and I'm going to bring in this document here and come in and confirm that that's the document that I'm going to review. I'm going to bring it into and do my review. And in this example, I can come in and bring in what I redlined in this example. Now I just brought in a random document, but in this example, we could say, hey, this is version 1 of what I redlined. And I've, in essence, completed my review, right? So I can come up, mark this as complete, and we can continue on. You can see we can come back to the submission itself. My part is done. I won't bore you by going through these steps over and over for the different departments, but we'll just come in, kind of fast forward through the system and pretend those reviews were done by the different departments. And as you can see in this example, Camino auto workflowed to the reviews being complete now, right? So from here now, the reviews are complete, and so we can update the status now to issuing the permit, plan review, or closing it out. In this example, we're going to say we're issuing the permit. We did what we needed to do. We issued the permit. Again, we're going to notify the applicant and update the status. So with workflowing this, you can see the next steps that have been added in this status step is a building inspection and a certificate of completion. So for the applicant, they're constantly being notified. Again, they're not going to be calling into the county saying, what's the status of my application because they're getting these updates of the review status, and they now even can see that the permit was issued. They do their work that, you know, of the building that they needed to do. And let's say now the work is done and they want to schedule their inspection. So coming in now, they can request an inspection. In this example, we'll say, well, let's request it for this Monday, and they can select morning, afternoon, or say they don't really have a preference. In this example, I'm going to say morning. We also are requesting their cell phone number, so if the inspector needs to reach out to them, and they can request this, you know, a time on their inspections, right? On your side, the county's going to be alerted that a request was made for an inspection. You can come right in and see this request of the 26th in the morning. Maybe as an example here, we can assign a inspector. We'll do me again here to the site, and the individual can come in and say, you know what? Yeah, I am available on the 26th, and I'm available at 9 o'clock in the morning. The inspector can also include their phone number, but in scheduling this inspection, the applicant is going to get a notification of when the inspector is going to be there, you know, the next, you know, on Monday, and at 9 o'clock in the morning. And so now let's fast forward to that time. The inspector shows up on the site. We can, you can have and set this up to however you want it to work out. In this example, we have a inspection form that they need to go through. You can see they can also drag and drop pictures. So we can have, you know, maybe a picture that they took during the inspection, they load it up, and they go through this inspection. Let's just, to keep it simple, we'll come through and say, hey, they passed with flying colors, right? One required field is the signature of the inspector. And in this example, they complete the inspection, pass or fail it. In this example, we passed it. If it did fail, we can set up Camino to automatically set up another step for another inspection when they fix those problems. But in this example, we're going to say it passed. We complete our inspection and close it out. So now we have the final step is the certificate of completion in this example. Again, this can be configured however it works best for you. And you can see we can auto-populate this document with information that was filled. It requires a signature down here that I put in, and we can issue this document to the individual in this example, right? And in this example, by issuing that final document, it automatically workflowed to permit finaled, where it closed everything out. And on the applicant side, they also see that it's the permit was finaled. They have all the various documents, including their certificate of completion. And up here, you can see they have everything from documents, both documents that they passed to the county, and as well as documents that the county passed to them. They also have that active map of their location, that payment history of what was paid, and even they have that activity history that you have on your side on conversations that were had, communication going back and forth, and then the project work flowing through the process. So that, you know, so now we have that, you know, kind of work flowing through, but within Camino now, we also have all of your submittals here, and also give you the ability to customize the look and feel of what you want to see. You can indicate what columns you want set up. Everyone might be different, right? What one person cares about, another person doesn't care about. So you can set up the columns. You can filter down on different date ranges. So you can filter down just over the last month, as an example. A lot of different ways to slice and dice this information, and you can save this filter view to something else. So as an example, you can see here, I have planning and zoning, special events. So maybe as an example, the special events person, they only want to see special event permits. They want to filter everything else out, right? So within Camino, they can set up a special event filter. And then, as you can see here, they can set that as their default, right? So they don't have to ever look at another building permit ever again. They can just see special event permits. Same thing with the building permit side. So we have that ability, and the ability to export this information out into a CSV file for maybe a council meetings once a week, once a month. You can filter out the information that they care about, save that as a filter, and generate it and quickly get that information to them on a weekly or monthly basis. We also have a record section over here on the left, where you can, whether, let's say, a business license or maybe a building permit has an expiration date, it's only good for 6 months, or a business license is good for a year. Well, Camino can automatically set the expiration date, and most importantly, automatically, let's say a month or so much time before the expiration date, automatically email the applicant, let's say business license wise, hey, you need to renew your business license. And maybe there are specific steps. You need to get a health inspection. You need to pay a fee. You need to fill out this form, whatever needs to be done. So they can automatically be notified, do that work, and get their business license, renewed, so that you don't run into expired permits, but you have the ability to see all these pieces and check up on it. Is this guy out of business, or is this something we need to get on this guy and fine him, or whatever situation you have at hand. We also have an active map of all the items, licenses, permits, special event, permits that are coming into the county. So you can review those, and the same thing, you can filter down by specific date ranges, and filter down just special events, whatever, and for you, the ability now, I have Santa Clarita's up here. I like theirs because they have a lot more stuff, but I can come in and only look on ones that were submitted. We can see that map. I can click on a specific one, see basic information on the application, and if I want, click on it and go into that application itself, right? So very easy way to map that out. We also have a field for payments. Let me jump back. I gotta jump between systems here, but we have the ability to see all your fees, and we can, again, your finance department can very easily set up a filter, maybe a daily filter to get what was paid the day before, export that into a simple CSV, and import it into their finance system, as an example, very easily. We also have an active report on the actual usage of your system. So this is Santa Clarita again, and we can look at just over the last month. Santa Clarita over the last month had, in this example, 431 people come to the site, 314 started a guide, and 143 had a guide generated. In your example, when we're talking about applications, now Santa Clarita just is a guide only usage, but you would also see how many applications were generated after the guide was generated. We use this on a monthly basis. Your account managers will sit down with you, and this will help us to find ways of improving the system. So we have more people that start a guide, finish a guide is the ultimate goal. You can also see when people are applying for a permit. In this example, in Santa Clarita, they're generating them at 6 o'clock in the morning or after 6 o'clock at night because it's easy, right? They don't need your help to do it. You also have the top submission types, and you have that as a glance, another active map. Last piece I wanted to show you is the rule builder. And the reason why is because, again, we talked about how easy Camino is to use. Camino you can use us to set up the system, but at the end of the day, we're going to want to train certain individuals within the county so you can maintain it yourself, right? You don't need us. You don't need to call us and ask for something to be added. You can do it yourself very easily. And you don't need to be an IT expert to make these changes. You know, a permit tech in the permit department, as long as you give them the necessary access and they're trained on the basic logic of Camino, they can do it themselves. So in the example here, we're going to go to our rule builder. And really, our rule builder is made up of two parts: submission types, which are all the various, permit types or special event permits or business licensing. And so you can see how easy it is to configure it the way you want, right? And set it up the way that you want. And on the right-hand side, we have the steps. And steps can be information only, right? Just sharing some information to them like we did in our permit application. But also steps can be paying a fee, filling out forms, submitting a document, or inspections or approval steps throughout the process. And with our rule builder, it's as simple as coming in and connecting the two sides. So in this example of creating an ADU, rule number one is these steps will always appear in a guide of this submission type. So if we scroll down, you see we have connections to certain steps, and we can very easily edit these connections, disconnecting or connecting to new steps. But the real powerful piece is this rule two. Rule two is these steps are only activated based on how they answer this question, right? Or it could also be, rule two could be based on GIS layers of information. If they're in a flood zone and they're applying for an ADU and they're in a flood zone, there's additional steps. If they're not in a flood zone, there's not additional steps. So again, coming back to this, we can very easily edit these conditions. And the big thing I hope you're getting from this is you're not seeing any coding, right? You're not seeing any complex technical language. In this example, here's the question: does the existing structure have fire sprinklers? The question's a simple yes or no question. It could also be a number question, like how tall is your fence? If your fence is under 3 feet tall, it doesn't require a permit. But if it's over 3 feet tall, it will require a permit, right? So we can ask that question. And in this example, we only include the steps if the answer is equal to yes, right? So very easy for you if there's a building code change or a fee schedule change. Very easy for an individual within the county to be able to go into Camino and alter that guide, that application piece, so it's in line with your rules and regulations. So that is, I mean, there's a lot more stuff, we even be able to organize your own users within the system. You have the ability to do that as well. That's about it. Well, I guess the last piece that I wanted to share is just, a lot of people, when they think of permit systems, they think of, oh my goodness, a year-long, 2-year-long implementation process. With Camino, it's fairly quick. Usually it takes us about 3 months to implement Camino. And because our system is so easy to use, we even have some of our customers implementing it themselves. But just know that we also have an option. Some cities and counties are very busy and they want us to do the implementation. So we'd work with you and implement it for you. But again, the ultimate goal is to train some people in the county so they can keep it up after that. And with it, we're also going to be sitting down with the county on a monthly basis with your account manager, going over what we call our monthly value report, going over the activity that you had and how that converted into time saved and money saved, and speak to ways that we can improve the system further. But from it, we've seen some huge returns for some of our customers. Syracuse, New York, which has our permit system, is saving $11,400 a month in just efficiencies on staff time. McKinney, Texas, is finding 30% of their use, or I should say their residents' use of the system happening after hours, which just equates to 30% fewer calls for them. And as you can see, others are seeing huge returns. Kitsap County, huge returns on their use of our system. The other piece with our that's valuable for Camino is our cost. Permit systems are a little more difficult to cost out because we need to get some information from you. But to shave it down to just the application portal, which would be the front end of the system, that piece for the county would, implemented by Camino, would be around $29,000 a year. It's an annual subscription. The permit system isn't going to be vastly greater than that, but we just need to understand your requirements within the county to be able to price that out. And that is about it.